Hi everybody, I think we're ready for some geometry now. We're going to start out with talking about angles, and I sent you a review so you can review some ideas about angles that you've probably had before. And so I'll just go through a little bit of those as we go through what are adjacent angles and what are vertical angles and how do we use those. All right, so starting with adjacent angles, it says these are two angles that share a common vertex. Okay, remember a vertex is the point in the middle, and a common side. Okay, in other words, they are next to each other. And so if we take a look at this picture over here of the intersecting lines, and let's say that I'm looking at angle number 4. Angle number 4 is contained within these sides. Here's its vertex. It would be next to or share a side with angle 3. As you can see as I go over this again, they share that side. Or I could say angle 4 is adjacent to or next to angle 1 because they share this side. So angle 4 is adjacent to or next to angle 3 and angle 1. Vertical angles, on the other hand, are not next to each other. It says vertical angles are two angles that are opposite of each other when two lines intersect. So we again have these two intersecting lines, and if we take a look at angle 4 again, here's angle 4, okay, contained within these two sides. Here's its vertex. Opposite, not next to it, would be angle 2 on the opposite side. Okay, so angle 4 and angle 2 are vertical angles. That's their relationship. Angle 3 and angle 1 are opposite each other. They are vertical angles. Also, if you notice, it's not too hard to pick out in this picture. Angle 4 is a small angle in this picture, and angle 3 is a larger angle in this picture. Angle 4 is smaller, angle 2 is smaller. They're actually equal to each other, and we usually use the word congruent. So congruent means that they are equal measurements. So 4 and 2, because they're vertical, we know that they're equal. So if you take a look at number 3, the larger angle, number 1 is also a larger angle. So 1 and 3 are congruent to each other because they are vertical angles. Another thing I want to point out is we're going to be using some symbols. And so the symbol for congruent looks like this. Okay, equal sign with the little wavy on top of it. That means congruent. So we don't have to write that word out if we don't want to. Okay, so adjacent angles are next to each other, vertical angles are opposite each other, and vertical angles are congruent. Okay, let's take a look at the bottom down here. It says we're going to, using the diagram, we're going to name two pairs of adjacent angles and two pairs of vertical angles. Maybe we'll just try one. Okay, up here we have these nice numbers to name those angles. Down here we have points, and so we'll have to use 3 letters to name an angle. How about if we start out with angle? Oh, you know what that is? That is the symbol for angle. And we will use that a lot so we do not have to write out the word angle. Angle, A, B, E. A, B, E. In the middle, right here, we always have the vertex. Angle A, B, E. And so AB would be a side, BE would be another side. Okay, so if we're looking at angle ABE, we want to know an angle that is adjacent to it. So it has to be sharing a side. Okay, remember we have 2 things we could probably pick from. All right, so how about if we just choose angle ABD. And you can see that they're sharing a side because we have both colors on this side. So angle ABE and angle ABD. D are adjacent to each other. Okay, how about an angle that is vertical to ABE? Angle ABE, and remember they're opposite. Okay, so I can't use anything that's actually touching ABE. And so I'm going to go to the opposite side over here. And we have angle DBC on the opposite side of ABE. So DEC is a vertical angle to angle ABE. And remember, we know something about vertical angles. This angle over here, its measurement is the same as this angle over here. They're congruent. Okay, let's take a look at the next picture. Let's pick out, let me see, adjacent angles. How about if we pick angle VQ, there's our vertex, R. VQR. So let me highlight that. VQR would be adjacent to or next to, again, we have two choices, one on each side. So how about if I pick angle SQV, which is contained between those two sides. And see how they share that side and that vertex. So angle SQV and VQR are adjacent next to each other. All right, let's see. Let me pick a different angle this time. Let me pick angle SQP. Angle SQP. Now when we're picking out vertical angles, we're going to have two lines that make like a big X. Okay, and so I see this makes a big X with this line, not this one. This one stops. And so if I'm looking at SQP, okay, I want something opposite of it, not next to it. So if I go opposite of it, I'm going to have angle RQT. This angle and this angle are vertical to each other. So angle RQT. And again, when I look at those measurements right here, those are the same. These two are actually congruent to each other. If I measured them, they would have the same measurement. Okay, now we have a new picture. It says we're going to classify each angle pair as vertical, adjacent, or neither. Okay, so starting out with numbers 1 and 4, angle 1 and angle 4. Here's angle 1 and here's angle 4. And you see where they share that side right there? That means that they are adjacent to each other. Okay, letter B wants us to look at 7 and 9, angle 7 and angle 9. Well, they're not opposite and they're not really sharing a side. So I would say that these are neither. Letter C, look at angles 5 and 6. 5 and 6, see how they're on opposite sides of those two lines right there. So these are vertical angles. Letter D wants you to look at 11 and 12. 11 and 12. Oh, again, they're opposite each other. So those are, their relationship is that they are vertical and they are congruent. Looking at angles 6 and 7. Angles 6 and 7 are sharing this side right here, and so they are adjacent to each other. That's their relationship. And finally, we're looking at angles 4 and 9. 4 and 9. Yeah, they're not opposite. They're not next to each other, so I would say that they are neither. Okay, so adjacent and vertical. Okay, we can use the idea of vertical especially, to tell us something that is missing in a picture. Okay, so if we look at this picture in number 4, and this is on the back of your worksheet, and we know that these are vertical angles, they're across from each other, and these are intersecting lines, we know the measurement of angle X equals 65 degrees because these two are congruent. Number 5, well, they're not opposite each other, so they're not equal. See how this is a small angle and this is a large angle? So they're not equal to each other. So let's go over here. It says, recall, a right angle measures 90 degrees and a straight angle measures 180 degrees. So if I put these two together, starting here, there's one angle, and then I go and I fill this angle in. See how they make this straight line right here? So that's 180 degrees. And since I know that's 180 degrees, I can say 180 minus 52, and I can figure out that missing angle. So if I subtract those, I get 128 degrees. 128 degrees, because they made together, when I put them together, they make this straight line, which is 180. Number 6, taking a look at those two angles, they look like they're opposites to me, and so they're vertical angles. That means they're congruent, so I know that X equals 114 degrees. Notice when you find vertical angles, you don't have to do any math. You just have the same measurement. Okay, number 7, it looks like that we have a 90-degree angle. That's what that little box means. It's 90 degrees. Okay, and so if we know that these two together make 90 degrees, I can do 90 minus 63 and figure out that missing part that's up here for X. So when I subtract, I get, what, 27 degrees. Together they make the 90. Number 8, again, they're sitting side by side, so they're not equal. This one's smaller and this one is larger, but if I put them together like this, see how they make that straight line together? So that's 180 degrees. And so I can take that 180 degrees and subtract the 84, and whatever's left over is for X. And so X is going to equal, I believe, 96 degrees. And the last one, well, they're not opposite each other. Notice this is a large angle and this is a small angle, so this is not 141. But if I put this angle together with this angle, they make this straight line, which is 180 degrees. I can use that relationship, subtract, and I am going to get, looks like what, 39 degrees for X. Okay, so using that idea of vertical, you can find missing angles because verticals are opposite, they're equal, but I can also use that idea of adjacent. When they sit next to each other, I could put them together and find a relationship also.